There's a firefight. Leprechaun gets blown to shit. He turns into a green STD and goes into some soldier's dick.
Because a penis exploding is funny.
Let that be a lesson to you, lad. Always wear a prophylactic.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show, the madhouse for film freaks and film fans of all types. I'm your host, Brian Content, my fellow co-host and filmmaker, John Woolscroft.
Why the fuck is he in space?
Oh,
the fuck he get to space?
How did he get to space? I don't know. It's never explained, John.
I mean, this has been such a thoughtful, franchise full of continuity and no errors or issues this entire time. It's basically The Godfather, so I'm amazed that they would make such a mistake.
Yeah. This we're in episode 302. 302? 303. Which one? One or the other.
One or the other.
I'm not entirely sure.
2.5.
2.5. There you go. And this week we are, well, obviously you could tell by like my green background and got my hair
and my dun, da, da, da. You can't see
you've got beer.
It looks black on camera, but it is actually green here.
Yeah, I trust that it's green.
And well, you can also see that I stained my fingers.
Got some green
and
jizz
my
on
pants.
your fingers.
Yeah,
I was gonna say you got some green jizz. It almost looks like the green shit from Troll 2.
Yeah, it looks like I rimmed Slimer.
It does look like you rimmed Slimer.
I blew Swamp Thing.
But yeah, or it's Nilbog Goblin spelled backwards.
Cheers. Is that what? Oh my God, you're right.
I know, right? But yeah, this week it's coming off the heels of St. Paddy's Day or Patrick's Day, whichever one you go with, and continuing our long line of reviewing a certain short horror characters entries into horror history. We decided that it's time of the year where we look at Leprechaun. Oh man, they're getting really bad. And this one especially is one of the ones that is, I'd say, one of the worst ones. And I said that last year too, but Leprechaun 4 in space. John, what the actual fuck?
Well, I just want to point out first and foremost that we are obviously so PC and very focused on certain holidays that we decided for St. Patrick's Day to do yet another Leprechaun movie because we're very sensitive people.
We are very sensitive people.
Yeah, but this one, so if it had leaned into its absurdity completely, I think I might have been okay with it. But it seemed like with so many other movies, it didn't know what it wanted to be. It seemed almost simultaneously like it wanted to take itself seriously and be buffoonish at the same time, which I feel is pretty much the marker for this franchise.
Here's the thing though, man, is like, if I always felt that Leprechaun was always goofy. You used the word buffoonish. I'd use that word too. It was always goofy, but like, just like in the vein of like Wishmaster. Wishmaster's kind of what I always kind of compared the two to. There's still moments of terror. Like, even though you're like the Leprechaun, you just kick the little fucker, just like Chucky. But like, seriously, that's what I always thought with Leprechaun. I'm like, you can just kick him, But granted, unlike Chucky, he's magical. So like he can make pots of gold fall out of your belly.
He has whatever magic the plot needs him to have.
Yes, there are no rules. And those rules really go out the window in this one. Like, you're just like, so like the whole thing last time around was like, what, that a pot of one of his gold coins. Like if you possess the gold coin, like you turn into a leprechaun and you get like leprechaun powers.
Sure.
If memory serves me correctly, like that was the whole deal because it was in Vegas.
Brian, we reviewed that 30 years ago. At least that's what it feels like.
It feels like it was a year. It was a year ago.
I remember him just posing with Elvis.
He was posing with Elvis.
That's all I really remember.
And what's her face's boobs blew up.
Oh yeah, and 90% of the movie was like shot in like an Arizona soundstage.
Yes,
yeah,
that's correct. Yeah. But like there were rules, right? There were some rules involved. Kinda. There were loose rules. There were loose rules. We didn't always have to follow them, but there were rules. This one? Oh boy, there are no rules. None at all. There's just one rule: chaos in space.
Chaos. Yeah. Well, I mean, the movie basically opens up with Donald Trump trying to marry Melania. I'm sorry, I mean Leprechaun trying to marry one of the chicks from Baywatch.
Well, you're missing a lot, man. First of all, before we jump in, according to my analytics on YouTube, I've noticed that a lot of our audience, and this is something that I want to do what the audience wants, right? I want to give you all what you want. So our audience seems to like it when we look at terrible fucking reviews of movies first. So we're going to look at some terrible fucking reviews of movies first before we get into our thoughts of it.
Let's appease those analytics.
I will appease the analytics. Okay. All right. So here's what I got here. All right. So this first review, I got 4 of these things, and I found these off of what was Letterboxd and Amazon and IMDb. So they're kind of a whole collection. Surprisingly, not nearly as good of reviews as the last one we did with Dune, right? Like those were some really good, like terrible reviews. But these not so great because it's a bad movie, right? The odd thing would be if you found good reviews of it. So all right, this first one says, "You begin to interest me vaguely." It's a 3.0 out of 5.
They spell vaguely correctly?
Yeah, they did spell vaguely correctly.
Good on them. Okay.
Yeah. So here's what they said. They said, "Now the evil cackling leprechaun is in outer space. Why? Why not? The yappy little freak had to go somewhere. He was running out of plots on Earth. This time he's after a wife who will make him a king. It's to be a marriage of convenience." Yeah.
Yappy little freak.
Little freak.
I love that.
You know, that person was just like, I want to say fuck, but it's Amazon, so I can't say that.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of it. Is we don't know who he's going to be king of. Like, you don't know if he's king of the universe or what. He's going to be king.
It kind of makes a good point. I'm assuming it's a he. I don't know. But like, you know, when you go to some exotic place in the sequel, that's kind of like the end of it, right? Like, you've ran out of ideas for Earth. So he went to Las Vegas. So now where the hell does he go? Oh, space. Why not? You know?
Well, space is the death nail for every horror franchise. Like, that's pretty much how it works. The minute you go to space, you're done.
It's the final fuck tier. Yeah.
The final fuck tier.
He's up there with Dracula and Jason now.
Oh, don't forget Pinhead. Pinhead went to space.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, there's your Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, I know. All right, so let me get to another one here. So this one's pretty good. This one's from I think this one came off of Letterboxd. This says, as Shakespeare said, shit happens. That's the title of it. Disappointed that Lubden, which I guess that's the name of the leprechaun, didn't know that, stops rhyming in this one. Cry emoji. But he does burst out of a man's erect penis. Eggplant emoji. So it is a must-watch for all eyeball emoji. Also features alien princess boobies.
I can't disagree with anything on that review. The only thing that I just need to acknowledge is the fact that he has a fucking name.
Yes, he does.
I just always knew him as Leprechaun.
That's what I always knew him as too. Yeah. But I guess he does have a name, Lubden, which, okay, cool. I don't remember at any time them saying the name Lubden.
Yeah, but I mean, he's not wrong. Like, bursting out of somebody's penis and seeing tits, that's pretty cool. You know,
it was 1996, dude. That's what we were getting.
It reminds me of the last season of The Boys, where, spoiler alert, if you haven't been caught up, just jump ahead 20 seconds. But a guy who can shrink himself goes into another man's dick and starts like rubbing it from the inside, but then he accidentally like goes back to full size and blows the guy's dick off. And I'm like, this is the greatest moment in Amazon history.
I only wish that
Bezos be with you.
I only wish I could have been there when you watched that, because I just knowing you, And your reaction would have just been jumping out of joy, going, "Did you fucking see that? Guy burst out of the guy's dick."
It's like putting an M80 in a rotten tomato. You know what I mean? Just like
Yes.
kaboom. Yes.
Oh, geez. All right, I got two more here.
Okay.
All right, two more. All right, so this one here says, "Just know." That's the title of it. Just know. Rented for husband's podcast. Give me back my horror movies. Go check it out to see the guys think of it. Now, you said it perfectly. Like, that would be my wife if she had to watch these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think even if you duct tape her to a chair, Lauren would have watched this
No.
with you, but
Lauren's given up a long time ago on watching any of the movies that I review on this podcast. She's just like, no, not doing it. And that's probably for her betterment, and that's fine. I'm cool with it. I know I subject myself to this because I have a high threshold for crap film, but I understand that she doesn't, and that's okay. That's why I love her. All right, this last one here is a bit of a long one, but I love this one because of how ridiculous it is. All right, so let's take a look at this one. So this one says, clicked on wrong button on Amazon remote and ordered this movie by accident and was not able to cancel order. The movie itself is very poorly made, and I would not have expected a good storyline or Oscar-worthy performances anyway. But what made matters worse was Amazon's extremely poor quality. The movie was not in 1080p, and Letterboxd. Using the stretching feature on the TV filled the screen, but ratio was off. Movie was being shown on TV at the same time, and quality was not great, but way better than Amazon's.
Okay, I got a couple of things to say.
Okay, what are your couple of things to say?
As a filmmaker,
this probably was a film person who wrote this, by the way.
I hope not, because their misunderstanding of aspect ratios and how things are shot. This was a rush to VHS horror movie. So first off, who in their right mind is going to 1080p this movie? Secondly, you shouldn't watch it with the stretch feature on your thing because it's a 4:3 aspect ratio because it's shot for television. You should watch it in its correct aspect ratio and fucking live with it, because not everything is letterbox, including most films. There's anamorphic and then there's letterbox. So maybe just learn yourself some aspect ratios, fuckhead.
I take that you're taking this very personally.
Well, I'm sorry, but don't stretch something that's supposed to be 4:3. Does he watch Nick at Night stretched? Does he watch anything that was shot for television before high definition came into play? Like stretch, does he watch all of his Cheers and All in the Family episodes in stretch mode and complain? Like, no, they're shot in 4:3 for a reason.
To be fair, I saw this one. This one was in the version I saw was in widescreen.
So it was probably a little bit warped because it was shot for.
I mean, the version I saw wasn't warped though. The version I saw was clearly a widescreen version of it. So I don't.
Are you saying that they pan and scanned?
I'm saying
their own thing that was meant for television.
No, what I'm saying is this guy might have a point. He might have a point, like that. Even though it is a rush job, that it very well, like it, because there's. Let's see here, because I'm just curious here. Okay, I can't even see on Amazon if it even tells you if it's Blu-ray, if you can get the Blu-ray version. Because if there's a Blu-ray, usually that's
the
not
4K of Leprechaun in space.
Because you need to see it in the most stunning, pristine quality to see all of those amazing VFX that are so great in this film, right, dude? But that. I can understand his point to some degree. Granted, he did this this comment on Amazon in 2017, so that might have been before any sort of higher quality version came out. So that's my point. But the point I found funny about this one was that at no point did he talk at all about the story.
Yeah.
He talks about the display of how it was in Amazon.
I can understand if he was talking about like a Christopher Nolan movie that
Yes.
maybe has like, like the IMAX aspect ratio and stuff. But no, dude, it's Leprechaun in space.
Yeah.
If you're focused on the aspect ratio, then you're kind of missing the point here.
Yeah. Yeah. So actually getting into Leprechaun here. All right, let's get into Leprechaun a little bit here. So this movie starts off with a gigantic, I want to call it kind of a bouncy ball that has black and white dots thrown all over it. Because that's what it is. And I think it's worth starting with the visual effects because that's what we get the first shot of. The visual effects in this, as someone who does this stuff, I wanted to pull my non-existent hair out. I wanted to yank him out.
Well, Brian, here's what I was thinking while watching this last night. Are you aware of Sega CD? Did you ever play Sega CD?
I am aware of it. I did not play it, but there was another game that I was thinking of that this reminded me of. But you go ahead. You tell me about what you think it is.
All right, so for all of you whippersnappers out there was a time where us old folks played a thing called Sega CD, and it was one of the first times that they ever incorporated, discs into the video game world. And what they would do is give you very highly compressed live action video as introductions to levels of a video game, and then you would play the video game, and then it would go to another live action thing. What really bothered me about this movie is in the mid 90s to until they did Sega Saturn. So like the mid to end of the 1990s, these live action videos that were in Sega CD looked better than this movie, this production. I could have seen better space effects in a Sega CD game than I saw in this fucking movie. It's embarrassingly bad, the effects.
I can buy that. Yeah, you know what these effects reminded me of? So there was a computer game because I got my first computer in 95. It was a Packard Bell piece of crap. It was a piece of crap.
You were above the rest. I got 97 for me. So.
Well, mine was a piece of crap. But my point is that the Packard Bell came with a bunch of games. And one of the games that it came with was a game called Journeyman. You ever hear of Journeyman?
I've heard the name. That's all I know.
Yeah. So I only played it one time because it was kind of difficult. But the graphics in Journeyman, which that game I think came out in like 93, 94. And because, they're packaging it with a computer, they're not going to give you like a good game. They're going to give you whatever's just kind of like sitting around. So the graphics in this movie match the graphics in the game Journeyman, which is embarrassing. Like you've got, a giant space rock that literally is flat. There's no texture to it at all. The spaceship, it literally looks like it's just a bunch of executed cylinders. That's it. No texture on it, no lighting, no nothing.
So apparently this movie had like $1.25 and a cup of coffee for special effects. And a lot of people that were involved in the production tried to excuse it, that they said like whatever the first render was, no matter what it looked like, basically had to be the final render.
I mean, I understand that there were budget constraints, but like, I don't know. You can't just like rush something, put it out there, and then say, "Oh, well, sorry, it's meant to be crap because you didn't have any money." So it's like you don't even try. Like, do you have to show a computer generated like image at that point? You're telling me you can't build fucking models? You can't, just shoot it practically? Like, I'm not saying do Star Wars level shit, but like, for fuck's sake, build a goddamn model if it's that hard.
Well, for me, Brian, personally, like if I was stuck with the image and I went, oh, fuck, everybody's going to laugh their ass off at us, I would have said, let's darken the shit out of it because it's space. Let's try to hide as much as we can before we lose any quality of it. And let's put in space solar flares because I'm sure we can do that. And let's put in, space solar flares because I'm sure we can do that. And let's put in, space solar flares because I'm sure we can do that. And let's put in, space solar flares because I'm sure we can do that. And let's put in, space solar flares because I'm sure we can do that. And let's put in, space solar flares because I'm sure we can do that. And let's put in, space solar flares because I'm sure we can do that. And let's put in, space solar flares because I'm sure we can do that. And let's put in, space solar flares because I'm sure we can do that. And let's put in, space solar flares because I'm sure we can do that. And let's put in, space solar flares because I'm sure we can do that. And let's put in, space solar flares because I'm sure we can do that. And let's put in, space solar flares because I'm sure we can do that. And let's put in, space solar flares because I'm sure we can do that. And let's put in, space solar flares because I'm sure we can do that. And let's put in, space solar flares because I'm sure we can do that. And let's put in, space solar flares because I'm sure they could do that technology wise back then. That kind of blinds the audience of what they're looking at. That would have been my way of like basically putting frosting on a turd.
Well, here's my point, and this is why I go back to this. So they clearly had the money for practical makeup effects because there's a lot of that in here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, not even just talking about the Leprechaun, and I'm going to call him the Leprechaun because I'm not calling him fucking Lubadon or whatever the fuck his name is. He's the fucking Leprechaun. Grogu. There you go. Grundle. That's his name. You know, his face looks like a Grundle.
Yeah.
All right. But I'm not going to keep calling him Grundle the whole episode. So, yeah, they had money to do his makeup. They had money for prosthetics to make like, what's his face? The professor, the doctor, you know, look like, you know, C-3PO and R2-D2 got it on in a threesome with, you know, Hare Krishna. You know, like they had money for that. I had no problem with that.
Looks like Gandhi fucked a stapler.
Yeah, Gandhi fucked a stapler. But yeah, so they had money for that. They had money for, you know, all these different practical effects, you know, the giant spider version of them. But you're telling me you couldn't build a fucking model spaceship? Couldn't do it? So like that's the thing that I find just irresponsible from a filmmaking standpoint. Is like you just can't even try. You're just gonna go with the render. If the CGI render isn't gonna work or it's gonna cost so much money, just build a fucking model. You know?
I wonder if really the producers of this movie were so cynical that they said, people come here for the jokes, the gore, and the boobs. And if the spaceship sucks, they don't care because all they want to do is go, ha, cool, and get a boner. And I think that that's all they saw their audience as, where they went, yeah, oh, that's the first render. Good enough. Move on. We got to keep this movie under budget.
I guess so. So once you get past the crappy VFX, we get to some semblance of plot here. Not really much to go on because it's basically aliens.
Yeah.
This movie is the plot of Aliens.
With a leprechaun trying to bang a rich bitch.
Well, Leprechaun trying to bang a rich bitch, and then a crazy mad scientist, Dr. Mittenhand, which is the best name for a mad scientist I've ever heard of, by the way. Dr. Mittenhand, because he's German, didn't you know? But yeah, so it's like the mad scientist is trying to grab some DNA to like rebuild his body because, you know, somehow, we don't know how, but, you know, he's half machine because it's the future, you know. You got to have cyborgs.
He tried to fuck a chimpanzee.
He tried,
and he got mauled. You know, but yeah, I love that he shows up. By the way, apparently this is 2096. There's still catheter tube TVs.
Oh, is that when this takes place? Is 2096?
Yeah. So I don't know how he ends back up in the hood. I'm assuming he goes into a wormhole. And
I'm assuming
2000.
I'm assuming that it's not the same Leprechaun. That is my theory.
Or Brian, I have another theory.
What's your theory?
They don't care.
Oh yeah, no, they completely don't care. They don't care about continuity.
Really the theory. Yeah.
They don't care about continuity.
Be damned.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't think it's the same Leprechaun.
But he shows up like on a TV and it's like neck up, and it's like, gee, I wonder why he's being shot almost like who's that? That computer generated guy from the 80s.
Max Headroom.
Max Headroom. Yeah. Why is he being shot like Max Headroom? Yeah.
Yeah, but it opens up with a bunch of kick-ass space marines who are they're commanded by the Sarge. He's Captain. Yeah, it's Captain Snake. Isn't that his name?
Probably.
No. I'm wrong. They all have. Here's the thing. They all have like different nicknames, like because they thought that was cool. Again, this is all ripping off of Aliens, right? You know, you've got the Space Marines, so they're actually commanded by Master Sergeant Metalhead Hooker. I'm not kidding. That's his name in this because guess what? He's got a metal head.
And I love how you can see the cheaply laid out makeup. They don't even try to hide it.
They don't even try.
It's almost like they're flaunting it in your face, like, look how bad of a job we did putting this mirror on his head.
Yeah. They should just call him Chrome Dome or something like that.
There you go. Yeah.
That's a better name than Metalhead. It's kind of a little on the nose. But there's more about Metalhead later that we find out that is really disturbing. I'd say probably the most disturbing part of the movie because they kind of just shoehorn in some weird things. We'll talk about it. But yeah, so they're on a mission to, what is it? They're trying to rescue the princess or something regarding the princess.
I think they just show up.
They just show up, right?
Yeah. And it just happens to be on the same planet where, Leprechaun's trying to tame some strange.
Okay, yeah. So let's talk a little bit because that's a good chunk of this movie.
Yeah.
Is that the Leprechaun, just like in the other films that he's done, basically everyone since, well, he did this in that Leprechaun 2 where he was trying to find a bride, right? And Leprechaun 3, I don't think he was caring too much about that. But yeah, he's back to trying to find a woman to marry. And he's actually successful. He is.
Good on you, buddy.
Good on you, buddy.
Even though she plans
a broken
to kill
clock
you and
is
you plan
right
to kill
like
her.
once a day, right?
Twice a day. Yeah.
Twice a day. So there you go. So yeah. So he kidnaps Princess Zarina, who is basically your quintessential smoking hot sci-fi babe.
90s hot. Baby.
90s hot.
And she
Classic
was on
90s
Baywatch.
hot. Of course she was.
Yeah.
I expect nothing less. But yeah, she was played by Rebecca Carlton. Okay.
What's your favorite Rebecca Carlton movie, Brian?
A Leprechaun 4, of course.
Oh, me too. Yeah, of course. Of all of her IMDb, she's like the Meryl Streep of Baywatch. But yeah, I would say it's got to be Leprechaun 4.
Yeah, absolutely.
Such a startling and brave performance.
Oscar worthy, according to some.
She was screwed, man.
She was screwed. But yeah, so she plays this kind of dumb princess stereotype who is obsessed with money, and the Leprechaun is like lecherous, of course, because he does. And he says that he wants to make her his bride so that he can be the king. We don't know the king of what. We just know the king of something. Not the universe, not her planet. We don't know.
Gore laughs and boos, Brian. Don't think too hard about it.
I know.
So we want our audience to be high and see gore, laughs, and boobs.
The funny thing is that in normal circumstances, in normal Leprechaun movies, right? Yeah. Like, we'd be wanting the Leprechaun not to get the girl because usually it leads to horrible things, right? No, he gets the girl in the first 5 minutes. She agrees to marry him because the Leprechaun has magic powers, can make all his pot of gold appear.
Well, they're both like planning to fuck each other over. But what's interesting is that all he cares about is his gold, but her fortune is based on like rubies and jewels and stuff, which should mean nothing to Leprechaun.
Yeah, because he's all about the gold.
Yeah, it would be like if I like went to another world and I was like, a millionaire, and they're like, John, you should marry this woman. Her entire fortune is based on feces. And I'd be like, no, thanks. That doesn't mean a damn thing to me. It's gross.
You don't want to be a feces baron, John? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I don't want to marry. As beautiful as all her antlers and antennas are, I'm just not. I'm not into feces as income, So, but
I hear there's a lot of potential economic growth in the feces market. John. You might want to get in on it. But yeah, so like
the boobs melange.
The boobs melange expands consciousness.
All you have to do is eat shit. No thanks.
And then you get prescient visions. No, I don't think I want to.
Yeah.
Don't you want to be the Quizarch's Hatter shit? Oh, but anyway, not even talking about Leprechaun anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah. So the Space Marines like interrupt all this. There's a firefight. Leprechaun gets blown to shit, which you're just like, yay, we're done. Not really, because this guy, he turns into, I kid you not, a green STD and goes into some soldier's dick.
Because
you can't even like logicalize it, John.
Because a penis exploding is funny.
It's just like I saw it. Like again, I had never seen Leprechaun 4 up until last night. I wanted to avoid it as much as possible. So like I'm watching, I'm just going, did he really turn into green like electricity and go in that guy's dick? And then 10 minutes later, yeah, he did.
Well, the thing is, Brian, I could have sworn I saw this as a teenager because I thought I saw all the Leprechaun movies, but like the fact that I don't remember him bursting out of a man's penis makes me think like, John, did you really see this movie? Because how the fuck else would you forget that happened? You know?
To be fair, like there was no blood or anything. You talked earlier about The Boys, right? And like that scene having, you know, actual like realistic implications of a man exploding out of another man's penis. But yeah, this one, none of that. It's just he kind of erupts in a very funny way.
I wonder if this is triggering for the lead singer of Three Dog Night.
I don't know that joke.
See, I paused there purposely, audience, because I figured Brian probably didn't know this because
I don't know that.
Only weirdo perverts like me knows. He had so much unprotected sex without properly washing or taking care of his genitals that his penis exploded.
That can happen.
For
real?
I suppose so. If you're banging 7 to 12 bitches a night and not washing your dick, and all you're on drugs, yeah. And it kind of like split or blew up inside, and doctors were able to repair it. So now he's got a Frankencock. But he woke up one morning and went, "Oh, look, my penis is a daisy." You know,
just went like,
yeah.
You learn something new every day. I didn't know that was a real thing. So the moral of the story is always wash your privates.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if you're going to be, I mean, you should watch your privates anyways, ladies and gentlemen. This is a reference from your Uncle John. Wash your genitals anyways. But if you're involved in sexual intercourse, it's a good par for the course that when you're done having sex, if you're able, just to clean them afterwards, even the bare minimum. This has been a message from your Uncle John. Clean your nuts and vaj.
The more you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's just good practice. Good hygiene. Getting back to Leprechaun. So yeah, after the whole firefight in which the Leprechaun turns to an STD and goes into the soldier's dick, we're back on the spaceship, and this is where we kind of see. We didn't even talk about Tina, the other sexy, scientist in this.
Tina,
who I hate her character. Like, I hate a lot of characters in this, but I just hate her character because she's just there to be broken down by the muscly space marine.
I'm embarrassed to ask this because I literally just watched it less than 24 hours.
Tina's the blonde.
Yeah. No, I remember that. But like, was she sent there by like the government?
She was sent there by like Mittenhand. Like, she works with Dr. Mittenhand. Yeah. And Harold the pervert scientist.
Mr. Pervert Radio Shack. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, she's like a biologist, and I love how there's a line where she says, "I'm a biologist. It's the study of like biology."
And he's like,
I don't know books and things.
I'm not stupid, but I also don't read. And do you want my penis? And she went, "Oh, don't smooth talk me."
No, she wasn't having any of it, John. The whole movie, she's like, "I don't want to have anything to do with that. I can take care of myself. I don't need guns against a giant leprechaun." And yes, there is a giant leprechaun. I don't need any of that stuff. I can defend myself. I have a black belt in karate. It's like, what?
Why not?
Sure. Okay. You have fun. Good luck surviving. And of course, what is hilarious about her is that over the course of the movie, she gets more and more disrobed.
Well, Brian, this is a highly feminist movie.
Very much so.
I compare this to Barbie, and other movies about the struggle for women in everyday life. Like, I don't think there's been a more feminist movie before Leprechaun 4.
Into space.
Into space.
Into space. But yeah. So like we get to meet the rest of our scientists, including Tina, Dr. Mittenhand, who we don't know at the Tina. We don't know at the time that Mittenhand is like half cyborg. We just see them as like a guy in a TV. And creepy Harold, who just wants to get a piece of that comatose princess. Because, yes, I forgot to mention the princess does get kind of injured and she loses a hand in the firefight. So she's like, they're saying we can reattach that. I'm like, okay, it's the future. I'll take that. I thought for a minute that because she's sitting on like the bed in the laboratory, I thought they put like bubble wrap on her. Did you think they put bubble wrap on her?
It seemed like it, but yeah, to go to the creepy scientist, like this is always the guy like, I'm the nerdy guy with glasses who goes, you don't understand my genius, but I'm also a creepy fucking pervert. Like this is the go-to, I think, for the last like 40 years in cheap exploitation movies of, I'm not appreciated in my time, but also given the chance that nobody else is in the room, I'm going to honk a boob, you know?
I think nowadays we would call that the incel scientist.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Maybe.
That's what we call this. We call him an incel. That's what he is.
You know what, princess? You won't have sex with me awake?
Yeah. So after all this happens, and yeah, I'm blasting through the plot of this because there's not a whole lot there.
What plot?
There's not a whole lot there. The Space Marines are like partying in, I guess, because it's the future that every spaceship has a discotheque, lounge in space with a disco ball.
All the shining lights from the disco ball make it look like the future, I guess. But this reminds me of like The Simpsons, like, when are they going to get to the fireworks factory? This is when like the movie just takes a gigantic halt and where all these one-dimensional characters who have no character that we don't give a shit about, that we start like learning about and associating with. And anybody who saw this movie, no matter whether they're the greatest film analyzer in the world or the biggest dullard you ever met, are just like, when is Leprechaun gonna show back up and start killing people? I don't care about any of these fucking people. And then he bursts back on the scene.
Well, I do want to talk about how he does burst back on the scene because it is kind of the funny. Well, I'd say it's the funniest part of the whole movie. is his eruption, if you will.
Talk about a penis sneeze.
Yeah. So Kowalski is one of the Marines that peed on him and gets the leprechaun STD, if you will. And he's trying to get it with one of the other female, Marines, the only female Marine, by the way, because of course that's how it's going to work out. And they're like going at it at a trash compactor. Like they're going at it where you compact the trash. And sure enough, like
Eminem and 8 Mile. Yeah, as you do. Just wherever you can.
As you do, wherever. And like
those hugs. Yeah.
She's like grabbing his dick and he starts going, and she keeps saying like, what did I do? What did I do? And that's when he erupts through his dick. No blood at all. He just comes out and he says, that's why you always have to use a prophylactic.
Which, okay, here's one thing I'm happy about is that one-liner Leprechaun is back.
Damn right.
It's like the difference between like Freddy from like Nightmare on Elm Street 1 as compared to like Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. Like, if Freddy was doing one-liners in the first one, I'd be like, that's in poor taste. But by Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, I'm like, if he doesn't do a turn of phrase or a pun every scene, I'm going to be disappointed. So I'm like, at this point,
damn right.
Yeah, if my Leprechaun doesn't pop out of a dick and make a big zinger, if he doesn't hire Bruce Valanche to write the zinger for him, I'm going to be very upset. If he just ran away, I'd be like, no.
If my Leprechaun, he's your Leprechaun, John. He's not mine. He's not the world. He's your Leprechaun.
Talk about an intravenous penis.
Oh, that's what I call a cock block.
Yeah. So after that happens, basically,
need to restrict your dick.
oh my god. So after that happens, the leprechaun is trying to, in essence, basically find his princess, because he wants to marry her to, then kill her. Like, he actually says, like, he's gonna marry her, then kill her because he doesn't want to share his gold.
No, he just wants her jewels.
He just wants to be the king. Again, we don't know what the king of, but whatever. You don't need to know.
Hey, shut up.
Yeah. Hey, shut up.
Yeah.
So, this is where we get the whole side plot with Dr. Mittenhand, where he explains that he plans to use Zarina's DNA because Zarina grows back a hand. Okay, she grows back her hand that was blown off, and sure enough, Mittenhand's like, I want to use that technology to grow back my body that I blew apart somehow. We don't really know how, but that's how it was a cyborg. So, he wants to steal the DNA. He ends up concocting a blue goo because, of course, it's the future, right? We got to have blue milk somewhere in there, right?
Well, blue is like one of the most, outside of like blueberries, is one of the most uncommon colors found in food.
Yeah. So eventually, after Leprechaun just starts killing people left and right, because that's what he does, right? He just kills them in most gruesome ways. Some of the different kills in this, like one guy gets smashed by something. Another one of the female Marines gets thrown off like a gantry and dies that way. What I love, my favorite scene, one of my favorite scenes in this movie, that's not like leprechaun centric, because there's the penis eruption one's the best one. But it's when the Marines like say, "Fuck you, Mittenhand, we're leaving." And they go back and forth, and Mittenhand's like, "I'll give you a shit ton of money if you stay." And Chrome Dome is like, "Make it 5, make it 6, make it 7." Like going back and forth trying to negotiate. In essence, they're all going to die. Like, that's just it. Why negotiate?
Well, I hate to nitpick a toilet bowl script.
Oh, you do?
But, well, it almost seems superfluous when we're talking about Leprechaun in space. But they stumble upon this princess.
Yeah.
By happenstance. So they don't know that she has natural abilities to regrow things. But the guy on the screen, Mittenhand. Mitten chops. Yeah.
Mitten chops.
Mutton chops. He's like, I need this bitch here right away. Right the fuck away. And they're like, "Oh, okay, yes, sir. Whatever you say, sir." And then, but it turns out it's because, she can restore things, and we find out, that he's like a sentient stapler. But he didn't know any of this about her from the beginning. And when I think of a good movie like Alien, is that the company that Sigourney Weaver and the rest of them were working for knew of the alien eggs and wanted to have them bring it on the ship so that they could use it and utilize it in some way, shape, or form for their gain. She only knows that she benefits him after accidentally seeing it. That's called unspeakably bad screenwriting.
Yeah.
Just write it in that, like him going, "Ha ha ha, I knew this would happen, and that's why we sent the Marines to that planet." Ha ha ha.
It's almost something where, like, even in the original Alien, like, there was data that the computer knew about the alien planet. Like, it knew. There's a scene where Dallas is like going to the computer. He's like, "Yeah, they knew that there was stuff there."
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they got sent there. So, like, that's what I think what you're getting at is, like, there are elements in the plot that kind of can flesh out some of these things, and you can do it in a way that is not so ham-fisted.
One line of dialogue could have fixed this entire movie, but it's clear that nobody cared. How many times have we said in this show that, like, nobody cared? It was everybody needed their paycheck or their cash grab, depending on where they are on the totem pole.
Yeah. So I want to skip forward a little bit here, okay, to one of the goofiest things here, and that is how the Zarina and the Leprechaun turned Mittenhand into a giant fucking spider.
I am the giant spider. Hey, wait a minute. Is this the guy from Batman? Did he make this? What the fuck's his name? Peter Gruber?
Oh, Peter. Oh, yeah. No. I thought about that. I'm just like, yeah, Peter Gruber made this. He said, it's going to be a fucking spider in this, the whole time.
Yeah.
Not saying that he did drugs at all. But yeah, so Zarina takes the blue goo cocktail that Mittenhand made out of her DNA, and like the Leprechaun grabs like a tarantula and scorpion parts, blends them together using like a NutriBullet, and then feeds it to Mittenhand, and that turns him into one of the worst prosthetic spider outfits I've ever seen. I've seen Doctor Who. Like, Doctor Who stuff is pretty good.
But there's almost something charming about the shittiness of Doctor Who. But interestingly, because I looked into the budget of this movie, and this was where most of the money went.
Of course it did.
Maybe you could have done a couple of extra passes on your space effects if like maybe, and I know it's the ending, so it's got to be very bombastic, but maybe he could have just transformed back into a man and then you defeated a human.
Or maybe you don't do the whole giant fucking spider thing. It doesn't add anything.
That's what I'm saying. Like, don't have him be a giant spider. Have him take the blue goop and don't have like the other animals in it. And he just becomes like a human being again. And it's like, ha 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 ha. Now,
or he blows up.
Yeah. Or blows up. Yeah.
I mean, because I imagine that it's easier and cheaper to blow up a person than it is to put prosthetics on them.
Because he's not the real enemy of the movie anyway.
No, he's not. He's not Leprechaun in the space.
He's like John Ritter in like Bride of the Chucky,
Bride of the Chucky.
We need to get rid of him because he's not the real villain. The real villain is fucking Chucky, but also the protagonist. I don't know. But just have maybe blow up when he takes the blue goop and save the movie a lot of fucking money, because really this movie's about honey, I blew up the leprechaun.
Oh my god. My god. Credit to the movie. They did show us the shrink and grow ray in the beginning, because that's how they took care of the leprechaun.
Check off shrink and glow ray.
Check off shrink and grow ray. Yeah. So we saw it. We saw it in action. Saw it working in the beginning of the movie, and then later in the movie, Leprechaun gets pissed off that his gold is tiny. Like, what the fuck did you do to my gold? I'm like, dude, you're the fucking Leprechaun. You tell me you don't have like magical gold everywhere? Like, you can't just make it appear? But sure, yeah, whatever. But yeah, he gets zapped by the giant grow ray, and oh my god. Like, I saw someone else on YouTube comment on this, and I didn't think about it until I watched it again. Like, I watched a clip of it, and they actually lost resolution in the leprechaun growing. Like, they shot this thing probably so shittily with like it almost looked like a bad VHS tape. Like, they shot him in front of a green screen and said, all right, do your best, like, I'm growing, and didn't shoot it with film. And then they scaled it up somehow. So the problem with that is like the resolution of the giant leprechaun looks so bad. Like, it's so soft and just analog looking. It doesn't look good at all. And I know this was 1996, but fuck it. Come on. You can't even like shoot him with film. If they shot him with film, it'd be better.
Yeah, and this is your money shot, isn't it?
Yeah, this is this is the climax of the movie. Where the leprechaun finally isn't just, a pipsqueak. He's a giant squeak.
It'd be like when the Deets are dying and it's like Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. And they're like, we can phone the rest of this movie in. It's only the climax. By the way, it's for those that are watching the video version of this, I am so disturbed by, speaking of Beetlejuice, that I have Beetlejuice.
I didn't say anything. I wanted to go how long?
Because
my
green food dye.
Yeah. Hey, it's it's after St. Patty's Day. Might as well. Right?
St. Patrick's Day. But yeah, no, they phoned in their most important effect. And I think they figured, like, well, we can just build miniature sets and a little person walking through them will make it seem like he's super tall.
But you still have to have that transformation scene, or you don't, right? Like,
yeah,
you figure out another way. Like, you're telling me you couldn't have like a hand here with miniatures that kind of shows the thing growing. Like, there's ways of making it work, but they just went in the most shitty way possible. Again, going back to the VFX of this thing. But yeah, he grows. That happens. And the way that the leprechaun dies in this thing, the princess, who we didn't even talk about her boob shot, which apparently
was forced into the movie.
Is forced in the movie because it makes no sense. But yeah, the princess at some point declares war on everyone in the spaceship by flashing her boobs. That's a thing said in the movie.
Well, I'm not talking at a school because I know that because Len Kapuscinski's a friend of mine, and he wouldn't mind me saying this because it's a thing that he said, and he would say, "Yeah, I said that." Is that I went and did a bunch of I was editing his film, and we went and did a bunch of reshoots together, and he went, "The distributor said I needed more bloods and tits. So, I need your help with the blood shots, and I'm going to go shoot the tit shots like later. But the distributor said we need more blood and tits." And I went, "Okay, Len," and this is exactly what happened with this movie, where they went, I think we can get the young boy demographic here, but we don't got any titties. So have the lady show her tits. And then they just wrote it in the movie in the most absurd way ever. It's like, it's her declaration of war. And
it just made no sense.
If that's your declaration of war, sign me up for another. Hey, Scarlett Johansson, do you want to go to war with me? Hey, Sydney Sweeney, let's go to war, bitch. So, yeah.
Oh, we just lost our female demographic right there. That's fine. That's fine. It's the movie. Listen, it's the movie. It's the movie. This is in the film. Yeah. Tina says, "Oh yeah, she just declared war on you." That's how her people declare war, is by showing their breastises. Okay. Yeah. But the way the leprechaun meets his end. Oh, go ahead. You got another point?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
that's okay.
I'm just gonna say, in fairness, my people, the people I'm predominantly genetically with, is the Scottish, and they showed their ass and ball sacks, so maybe it's not so strange.
Got a point there.
My moronic Scottish ancestors went, "Look at our balls and asshole," and they went, and then the Romans went, "We're not actually afraid of you at all.
We're not afraid." That, like, they're probably just like, "Oh, so that's what an asshole looks like." That's what mine looks like. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the way the leprechaun meets his end in this one, because that's always a fun thing, the way the leprechaun dies in this one. He gets shot out of an airlock. Again, very much like Aliens. Or Alien, Yeah. Because the princess gets kind of rescued by, again, one of the Marines' books. Because don't know why.
Because books makes him sound smart.
It does make him sound smart, yeah. And he's one of the only Marines that survives. The funny thing about books, and this is getting a little off topic, was he gets shot by the leprechaun, because at one point towards the end of the movie, the leprechaun just says, "Fuck it with magic, I'm going to just start shooting motherfuckers." He just gets a gun and just starts shooting people. And he shoots.
Probably should have from the beginning.
You would think, that's what you would do first, instead of like coming up with magical, like, Rube Goldberg machines that end up killing people. Like, if you can make a gun appear, just shoot them. But yeah, he shoots books, and books does the dumbest thing I've ever seen in any sort of like gunfight. He's got body armor on. He got shot one time in the shoulder. He decides to take off all the body armor, all his clothes, and just go like shirtless.
Because he's a fucking badass.
Made no sense. But it was just like he got shot
Bullets
one time.
can't hurt you when you're badass. But
I guess so.
But we also need to mention the fact that Warwick Davis, who plays Leprechaun, was in Return of the Jedi, and in this movie he has a lightsaber.
He does have a lightsaber.
Talk about sidetracking, but yeah, he has a lightsaber in this movie. But yeah, I don't know why Leprechaun just doesn't just use a gun all the time. Just shoot these assholes and get your pot of gold back. But
you would think so. You would think that would be the easiest thing, but he doesn't, and he gets shot out of an airlock, and he kind of blows up and gives the spaceship the middle finger.
Yeah, his hand doesn't blow up.
No,
so I can give a middle finger.
Because we got to have that there.
And again, if people who are listening to this who have never seen this movie, which is probably most people who respect themselves, have not seen this movie, you would think like, oh, well, this movie sounds absurdly stupid. This sounds almost like Airplane or Naked Gun or just something just so absurdly stupid that it is just a laugh a minute ride. Like, no, this movie didn't know what it wanted to be. I think it was. Would you call it 50% haha and 50% serious?
Because I call it 100% haha. This movie can't be taken seriously.
But I don't think that it leans into the comedy completely. I think that it's trying to have its cake and eat it too. And I'm like, this movie thinks it's Alien and Airplane. And it's like, what do you want? If this movie was obscenely absurd, I would be very much more into it. If it was just like absolute,
but it is obscenely absurd, John. Like a guy's face,
but
a guy's face literally gets smashed by a pizza pan.
And I know a leprechaun comes out of a dick,
and he comes out of a dick. And we didn't even talk about the Marine sergeant who goes and decides to go cross dressing. And like, does a whole like song and dance thing because they're under the leprechaun spell. I don't know why that's in there. I seriously have no idea why it's there.
I'm going to say that I don't think that this is like a lampooning like Scary Movie is of Scream.
Oh no, but
this isn't like a lampooning of the first three leprechauns.
No.
I think they wanted it to be a movie that's very funny, but not lean into it. Like in a way that I feel that like Army of Darkness very much straddles that line very well between this is another Evil Dead movie, but it's much more haha and more fun. That I feel that Leprechaun in Space is not intelligent enough to find any kind of balance between horror and comedy or leaning into the absurdity of this ideal, because this is one of the first in space movies. And I thought like, oh yeah, this is going to be a laugh out loud riot, absurdist comedy lampoon of the Leprechaun movies in the horror movie genre in general. But they never leaned into it enough for me to believe like, I can just turn my brain off and appreciate this as a satire. Instead, I had a horrible time because the movie wanted to have its cake and eat it too.
It's a good point. It's definitely worth looking at. I mean, I didn't take this movie nearly as seriously. It was a very painful watch for me to even just like devote the time to it, you know. I think I looked at my phone like at least 10 times over the course of the viewing, which you might say, why was it not like 20? But yeah, I mean, I think for me, what could have made this movie successful is if they just added slightly more effort on small things. You know, if they cleaned up things like the plot just a tiny bit, you know, and they got rid of gags that made no sense. Like the whole Mittenhand needing DNA and all that shit. No one cares about that because it takes away from what? The main thing, which is the leprechaun. And then maybe explaining like why the leprechaun wants to be king. And what is that the king of? Is it king of the universe? King of the planet? Like that's my problem is none of that is ever explained.
Or Mittenhand, like, considering he feels inferior because there's a bullet punch for a cock, like maybe he wants to be king to the princess because he has an inferiority complex rather than wanting to change your DNA and change it to a giant spider. Yeah,
you know what it kind of reminds me of, and I don't know if I know I said this is a movie that I would definitely want to review at one point. But did you ever see the movie Space Truckers?
No, but I remember you mentioning it. Yeah.
So Space Truckers is a cult film with Dennis Hopper and and Steven Dorff, and it has a similar kind of premise in that there is one character in the movie who's like the big bad guy who's like a cyborg that has a dick blown off. So there is like a reasoning why he does what he does because he's trying to be like a man because he has no manhood. It's actually a pretty funny movie. But like I saw parallels to that film in watching Leprechaun. But the thing is that Space Truckers makes it very clear where the narrative's going. Like that's I think the big difference is that there is a clear line, even though it's absurd, even though it's a comedy. There's a clear line of the narrative, and there really is no clear line with this movie. You've got weird gags being thrown in on the screen that make no sense. Okay, you have deadpan characters that have no chemistry. Like I mentioned how Tina like doesn't want to be romanced at all by books because she's no nonsense. She's a scientist. She doesn't have any time for that, even though she's over the course of 90 minutes getting disrobed every 5 seconds by some contraption the leprechaun does. But like towards the end of the movie, what does she do? Immediately makes out with books.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where the fuck did that come from? So like it's a lot of these cliche bad movie tropes that aren't even good. Like that's the problem, I think. That's I think the big thing is that they're not even good cliches. It's lazy.
Yeah, because some cliches are inevitable, with film. But yeah, there's nothing in here.
It's just lazy cliches and lazy writing and lazy everything. And, I looked at the budget and I think it was like 1.6. It was 1.6 million.
Where did 1.58 of that go?
It went to Warwick Davis. That's where it went to.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is the fourth one. We got to pay him a bundle. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. This is awful. Just fucking awful.
Well, Brian, I'm excited to go to the Hood next year.
I am excited to go to the Hood. I hope it is better than the Space.
I remember it being much better. I think they got a lot more money and they just fucking go for it. So
I believe this is the one where he's like rapping about weed. That's what this one is in.
We might want to have a black friend on for this one, the next one in 12 months. I don't know. We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. Yeah. Anyway, final thoughts, John, on Leprechaun into Space fuck it. How many exploding dicks out of 10 do you give it?
1.25 exploding dicks.
I give it
decimals.
I give it a 1 exploding dick and a 0.5 grundle. That's what I'm giving it.
Oh, see, like a perineum snap.
Yeah. Not a full ball, but just a grundle explosion. Yeah, that's Leprechaun into Space. I'm glad that we've gotten through this one. I never will watch this one again. Ever. Not even on a bad movie night. I don't think I could watch this on a bad movie night.
I'll try to forget that I ever watched this movie, but I'll have the flu in 10 years and I'll have nightmares and it's going to be clips of this movie. My unconscious will never let me forget it. And I'd be like, remember Leprechaun in Space? I'm like, no. As I'm trying to sleep, you know.
Oh, geez. This is bad. Well, with that said, John, where can they find you at on the internets?
The Twatter, the Facebook, Instagram, and over at the PewTube. And you can find me at JDeb's Video Nasties. I got coming up in the next few days, if it's not out already by the time this one comes out, my interview with Mr. McFeely, Speedy Delivery from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And I am currently writing my episode of So Many Questions on Demolition Man.
Ooh, I'm looking forward to that one. Because I love Demolition Man. Love it.
Brian, I met a fan at Walmart in my hometown. That was surprising.
Like a fan of you?
Yeah, I was at customer service for my mom because I was doing all these like errands for her, and the guy went, "Hey, aren't you JDeb's Video Nasties?" And I was like, and I started to piss myself a little because I was noticed, because that's like really never happened before. He's like, "You got any episodes coming out?" And I like told him about the Mr. McFeely episode. He wasn't impressed, but he was like, but I'm like, I have so many questions on Demolition Man. He went, nice. And I'm like, yes.
And did you say you should listen to my podcast also?
Oh, I did. Yeah.
You should do it.
I did. Don't think for a second I'm not going to hawk everything I have going on.
You got to hawk it all. I'm going to hawk it all. Speaking of hawking it all.
And I said, go buy a certain type of razor. Oh, we're not talking about that.
No, not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet. We'll get to that certain type of razor.
Yeah.
With that said, you can find me at Brian Collington on the Twitter. I also run the Psycho Show page. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Psycho Show. You can also find us on the TikToks for as long as TikToks is not banned. Who knows? At Cinema Psycho Show. We got some clips going up on there. And of course, we have our Discord channel, which you can go and jump onto in the description below. And, you know, try to go on there and you can talk about Leprechaun into space or into Hood or in Vegas, you know, because we did that episode too. So hop on there, join our community, and you too can be a Cinema Psycho. See how I like that, did that there?
Hey-o.
There you go. Also on top of that, you can come over to our YouTube channel, hit the like, subscribe, the follow button, all that stuff. And of course, listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts, and we will see you next time.